What's up, hard chargers? Kyle Miller.
And Allison Cohen.
Well, tis the Christmas season, and we have chapter Christmas parties going on. Great showings. I think Michael Segrest, with his coalition partners, everybody had over 116 people down in Southern Ohio last night. We had Holly over in Summit County, I believe. And no, not, was it Summit? No.
Lucas.
In Lucas County. And then we had Charles and Letty over in Lorain County. Big showings last night. Our chapters don't just do all the hard work, they have some fun and fulfillment as well. So
A lot of fun and fulfillment. And in fact, we're often having fun when we're doing the work. So it's a win-win all around.
That's right. I thought maybe today we could talk about our work, because I think some people, if you're just now tuning in, or if you've tuned in a couple of times, I think I want to use this as an opportunity to really drive home the role of government, a good example of the role of government in America and the role of citizen in America. So, Al.
Exactly. Kyle, let me start with this. What was your first job, and how old were you when you had that job?
My first job, my first job where I was getting money, I was, I think, in third grade. And the landlord in the apartment complex that we lived in paid me $20 every 2 weeks to pick up all the garbage, because we were right next to like a highway, like a country highway. So it was busy for a country highway, but people would throw their trash out the window, whatnot. And he didn't want the apartment units to have trash all in the yard, And so I would pick up trash and keep that clean. And every 2 weeks, he'd give me $20. The first real job I had, where like they were holding out taxes and everything, my mom got me a job bussing tables at a retirement home. And the ladies that worked the kitchen there, the old ladies there, they were hilarious.
I bet they ate you up.
They were hilarious.
That's
what
awesome.
about you?
My first job, I was probably sophomore in high school, and I worked in the kitchen at the Cozy Cafe in Hamilton, Ohio. It's not there anymore. It's been a couple different restaurants since it closed back in, like 2008. But I was what was called an expediter. So I got all the food ready to go out and go to the customers. So that was my first job. That job meant a lot to me. That job meant that I had freedom as a teenager, a little cash to fill up my gas tank and go see my friends and whatever. But I also learned a lot at that job. And right now, there's been some action up on Cap Square talking about minors who are employed. Do you want to explain a little bit about what's going on with SB 50?
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to spend time on this, it wasn't that we were heavily involved on it or anything like that. But you guys will see that Donovan was interviewed by NBC4 along with some opposition to the bill about, the pros and cons of the bill. I think they gave it some fair coverage, it seemed like. But I think it's just indicative of, the role of government in America and what you as a citizen have your role in. And the two of those should work together, not the government overcoming the citizen. And so this bill would allow minors to work later if they wanted to, and if their parents were okay with it. And DeWine had vetoed it. Think whatever you will about that. Not here to talk about that, but just the fact that government is telling citizens how late they can stay out, right? And I get that there are some folks out there, that might be absent or irresponsible, but that's what the laws exist for. Like, if you're not taking care of your children, if you're neglecting them, stuff like that, those laws already exist. But some of the opposition was quoted in there saying that, it's too late. They need to get enough sleep for the next day. Well, who are you to have government determine that? Yeah,
that's exactly right. Parents can and should make that call for their kids. And maybe it's the best thing for that kid to work a little bit later. And by the way, we're not talking about 3 a.m. By the way, we're not talking about teenagers closing out the bar, right? We're talking about the difference between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Currently, the status quo is 7 p.m. and SB 50 would have nudged that a little bit toward 9 p.m. I don't know about you, Kyle, but when I was a teenager, I wasn't going to bed at 9 p.m.
No.
Far from it. So, and again, that's my opinion. That was my practice. And my parents gave me the curfew that they thought was appropriate for me because they know me and love me. Right. And so Once again, similar to how we approach education, we believe that parents know their children best and they should be the ones making those calls, not the government.
And you got to remember when you're passing a law like this, you're doing it for 11 million people. So to be clear, the legislature was passing a law to extend the curfew hours for younger folks to be able to work, for minors to be able to work later. And you may say, well, you just want cheap labor, is what it is. You just want to take us back to the industrial age or something like that. No, everybody's situation is different. 11 million people, you're not going to have a one size fits all thing. So there's all kinds of different scenarios and situations. You got homeschool kids, you got kids that are doing blended programs, you got
Mhm.
private schools, you got public
Online.
school. What's
Yep.
that?
Online school.
Online school. So you just part of this job that we do over here, part of the volunteering that you would do over here is trying to keep government out of things like this. So that way citizens can practice their individual agency. Let's listen to maybe some of the opposition here and then see what Donovan had to say. So let me play this.
Jamie Shoemaker is the executive director for the Central Ohio AFL-CIO, which opposed the proposal to expand working hours for Ohio teenagers.
We are fighting just to protect child labor laws. We have been fighting for child labor laws for so long. Why are we changing stuff? I feel like this is regressing backwards.
Opponents argued that kids shouldn't have to worry about working instead of focusing on school responsibilities.
They're in school, they play sports, they have homework, and I know how exhausting it is.
Meanwhile, supporters like Donovan O'Neill with Americans for Prosperity Ohio argued the bill was an opportunity for kids to prepare for entering the workforce.
Early work changed my life. I started working actually at the age of 14, and that experience taught me customer service, communication skills, responsibility.
He believes that this should not be a decision for the government to make.
Making this change gives the employer, the prospective employee, and the parent more flexibility in making decisions that really shouldn't rest in the governor's mansion, but should be made in the homes of Ohioans.
Governor DeWine said that current child labor laws are sufficient to balance the importance of teenagers learning to work with the importance of leaving them time to study.
He actually stood with working families, so I do want to thank Governor DeWine for vetoing the bill.
It's disappointing. Governor DeWine has vetoed several pieces of legislation in this General Assembly that are not only priorities of our organization, AFP Ohio, but these are priorities of many Ohioans.
Well, I'm glad DeWine knows everything about everything.
It would be
I'm so
unwise. It would
Yeah.
be unwise.
Thank God he's saved us with his wisdom yet
It-
again. Thank
That
you.
is wisdom is so subjective. And by the way, I bet you if you ask some people that say, well, it would be unwise and something, you tell me the difference between knowledge and wisdom. I bet you they wouldn't be able to say that.
If you're like us and you agree that the decisions for your children are best left up to you and not any of our elected officials, then you need to go to buckeyeblueprint.com. And there you can find some upcoming events. Obviously, we've got the holidays coming up, so it'll be a little quieter toward the end of December, but we'll be right back at it in January. We've already got events up there lined up on our calendar. We've got chapters all over the state. Please do see if we're in your corner of the state. And if we're not, we'd love to be there. So please get in touch.
Yep, we're 88 counties wide. And so if we don't have something in your county, want to get something going there. And I would just say that though right now we were talking about something like how late kids at the age of 14, 15 can work. This kind of logic applies to everything. Whenever we're looking at a law the government's making, we shouldn't ask ourselves whether we agree with it or not. We should ask ourselves whether we want the government telling citizens that this is what they must do, right? Because that's
Yes.
what a bill does. It says you must do this or else. And so even if you personally agree with it, is it really what you want government doing? And so we apply this to taxation. We apply this to educational freedom with ed choice expansion. We apply this to business regulations, licensing requirements, licenses meaning like in order for you to be able to go out and work in a certain industry. All of this is to say, does government know better? Should government be telling you to do this? So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you out in the field. Keep charging hard, hard chargers.